Welcome back to PTN 24. And now where were we? Yeah. You had a question, Sam, so ask away.
So I have a question for everyone here. So there's a quote that people often like to talk about. It's called, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." I have a counter quote to that. I think what doesn't kill you can leave you scarred, maimed, and traumatized. What are your thoughts?
I agree with that. What you said, your rendition of the quote, I do agree that tough times, tough situations can leave you marred, stigmatized, traumatized, all of that can happen. But the very essence of a human being is to bounce back, and that is where I think the toughness can come back, is to just keep on building yourself up to the next moment and try and come out of a current situation, bad or very bad.
I'll respond to that just very quickly. Like the idea, the reason why I said it this way is, it's not often that it makes you stronger. I mean, let's talk about military veterans coming back from war that have PTSD, that every time they hear a car backfire, they have a flashback.
Yes.
And they go into a fit of rage. It didn't make them stronger. There are a myriad of situations in life, tough or otherwise, that do not in fact make you any stronger, but in fact leave you weaker, leave you broken. Doesn't matter what man or woman of character you are, no matter who you can be. How do we have this very positive thinking that no matter what we do, no matter how we go about things, we get stronger, we do better.
Okay, so
what if that's not the reality?
Here's what I'm going to tell you. There are two yous in this sentence. The first you is the person themselves, and the next you is the collective, meaning that your own situation may truly not make you stronger. You might be left crippled, amputated in a situation like such, but from you learn a lot of other yous, a lot of other people in your collective audience that can either say, okay, I'm not going to go into the forces because this is not the consequence I want, or hey, this is what I want to do for my country and I'm still going to do this. So when you talk about the you, it's
well,
the
why does the individual owe that to the collective? We live in a land of personal responsibility and individual self-interest.
I think
why does the individual owe that to the collective?
Let me take it from there. I say that the topic we have it today, as we mentioned, that tough time, never lost, but tough people do.
Right.
This is a kind of similar. So this is again is very personal. When you repeat, this is not for somebody else. So when you are speaking, when you're saying, you're not giving prep talk to somebody, you're giving to yourself. As similarly, when you're mentioning, as you mentioned, that what doesn't kill me makes me stronger, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So it's a reinforcement of your willpower, nothing more than that. People are going through, when we are talking about it, some people are...
No, just to clarify, I said that people say what doesn't, like it's a common saying in society, that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I said, what if it doesn't? What if you don't come out of it any better, any stronger?
No, I will say it loses.
Just let me comment on that.
So do I.
Just let me complete it. In my understanding, if somebody tells me that, okay, it means that person is not going through. If the person has gone through my situation, I'm saying it, it means more oftenly people say for the sake of saying. I say these proverbs, okay, these phrases when they are utilized is best suited for ourselves. So I say to myself, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. So I'm enforcing that belief in myself that, you know what, I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet. When you died, you died. Okay, I'm not dead yet. Okay, means I can fight back. And same way, and this is what it makes people tough. Okay. Time has been passed.
So I would like to intervene in this now that I'm going to say two things. Number one, winter is spring for a genius. Okay, that's one. If you have heard of a renowned Russian writer, Boris Polvay, he wrote a book, it's a real story, the story of a real man. Now, that man was Alexei Marchev.
I remember that.
Right?
I read that book.
Yeah, so that man he was in Second World War, and what happens? The Germans they shot his plane, and he falls, and 40 days he crawled, walked through
Siberian
the ice from in Siberia, and ultimately he was underneath the ice and the snow and all that stuff. And let me complete. Let me complete. I'm coming to where you're coming to. It depends upon and
Person to person.
yeah. So that person, when he reaches back to his soldiers, he was so in such a bad situation that they have to, he was amputated,
Yes.
his legs were cut. And that man had still inner spirit, strength, that I want to go on the war front again. And even after the amputation, he, with his those legs which are not real legs,
Prosthetics,
so he actually worked, and then he flew the plane
How wonderful.
again.
What a story of inspiration.
So that's a beautiful story. So he did that. Now,
always
when I
good
say every problem hold positive possibilities, sometimes for you and sometimes for the others.
That's why I gave both perspectives.
So
I think.
sometimes when you talk about one person individually, sometimes people, they are totally destroyed in some situation. Okay, and that's not justified. But still, it's in when the people see it, or they get motivated, they get enlightened.
But that quote kind of falls apart because your tough person dissolved. Tough times never last, what tough people do, but that tough person dissolved. Sure, they helped a couple of
Well,
others.
if someone
think
is
if we're
dissolved,
talking only
so
of
there
the
are two things.
physical essence,
There are two
yeah.
things. One is that you are in a war zone and a bomb comes on you and you die. That's done.
That's not what I'm talking
Okay. No, let me. That's done. As long as you're alive, because we are talking about the live people, the living people. Okay.
But you could be in a vegetative state with no neural activity.
So you can't do much in that
I
situation.
want to say about
we
Terry
are not talking.
Fox.
So we are not
If
talking.
you're bended
when
and
we are
if you're
saying,
neutral-
listen, when we're talking about the tough times never last and tough people do, we are talking not the toughness of your legs or your limbs.
Your
or
physical being, yeah.
We are talking
mental
about the
being.
mental
Sure.
being. So. With your mental strength, it's possible
You can
to
come back.
even overcome your physical inability.
And that's what I was talking about when I
Within
talk
reason,
about the
of course.
collective audience, sir. Terry Fox has inspired many.
Exactly,
He
yeah,
was
yeah.
somebody, almost limbless and, ran the length and breadth of the country, bringing across the idea of positivity and survival, the instinct of survival. So I think the collective audience has benefited from his inspirational story to this day. Each year all the schools have a run dedicated to that, and to re-inspire children who perhaps, or others, adults, who are in a situation like such, to be able to fight that battle. Every day is a battlefield. To me, every day is a battlefield.
Yeah.
We're always fighting a tough situation.
Every minute we have a problem. Yes.
I would say that I think 4 years back, 4 years back, there is this Indian soldier who came here, okay?
Yes.
And he was gone through the same. He has his one leg was cut off, amputated, and he has gotten the inspiration when he was here.
Okay.
His inspiration from Terry Fox. He mentioned that. He said, I got the inspiration from Terry Fox,
Yeah.
and he's running with that. And especially when you're being in India, okay, and he was a soldier, what he has to go through the bureaucracy to get his pension, or, disability benefits and whatnot. Especially the system and how people make you feel lower, that okay, you're worthless now, whatnot, okay, and all those things he came on. So I think we are talking about this when we are talking about the tough times, tough people, or what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We are talking about the willpower. We are talking about our mental strength.
Definitely.
That no matter what, and that's the lesson of life.
The spirit to go on.
The spirit to
Spirit to go on. And most important thing here is you cannot choose your tough times.
Yeah.
You can't choose.
course not.
Okay? But you can choose what those problems are going to do to you. That's the most important thing. There's a negative and positive reaction to every problem. So that's an important thing. So,
You can complete your
yeah, so you have to see that whether it's a financial situation, whether you have a family situation, you have so many different situations in the life, so you have to choose how you want to react to those. That's more important. If you're in a vegetative state, or you're in a state where you can't do anything physically, or you cannot do anything mentally, then that's not something in your control. When we talk about this, we're talking about what you can do in given situations, how you react to your problems, how you basically take those problems.
And I think a lot of the time, like I was saying before, we do keep ourselves in our mental confines, and that is why we are not able to maybe overcome a problem, is because we're looking at it from the same repetitive version of ourselves. We might always think, like you were saying earlier on, you could be a strong person inside, but you've trained yourself to believe that you're always going to be a failure, and to get up and go might be really tough for you. But if you can involve an additional audience, be it your sister or your brother or somebody else that you can bounce ideas off of, I think you'll be that much stronger to be able to come out of a situation.
Yeah, you have mentioned about how the plane was,
Cross landing. Yeah.
Cross landing.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, it's not similar to that incident, but a video which was viral and had really inspirational. You can say that.
Mm-hmm.
In Syria, the bombing is going on, and every time you can hear it yourself. And where a father and a daughter, is a 2-year-old beautiful, girl, okay, and father is saying, and he has made a play that whenever bomb drops, noise comes, he says, okay, let's laugh. So it's laughing when the bombs are
So that's the reaction.
That is the humanity, that is the bravery, and that is the situation, okay. And of course they are over there, and one cannot think about we are here, and God forbid if something happens, shoot out or some bomb, and how panic will be in the situation.
I think. Sorry. Go ahead.
Couldn't we just argue that is just a delusion to make a adverse situation seem less adverse, in a way to fool yourself?
And the humanity is name of
I
it.
agree.
Put it this way, in my understanding, is
at the end of the day, it's lying to yourself to a point where you know you can do better.
dreams.
It's lying just to make you feel better.
In my
and when you feel better, there are chances that you can do better.
No, in my understanding,
Or maybe
No,
that's
always,
a way
but
of looking
I
at
said that
they
there
want
are
to die per se if the bomb
I'm saying
fell
that
on
there are
them.
chances. Now I'll tell you one thing very important. If you want to manage problems positively, there are certain principles. Okay, those principles always help you, and I'm going to throw some of those principles, and then we can have discussion on them. Say, for example, don't underestimate yourself. Many times we underestimate ourselves, and then we can't resolve those issues. Don't exaggerate your problem. Sometimes we get so scared that we exaggerate the situation, and then we cannot deal. Sometimes we keep on waiting that this problem will be solved, so you don't have to wait, so you have to keep on battling it. Another thing, don't aggravate your problems. Okay, so these are many things. Illuminate yourself that, I can. There are two things. Either you can increase the light, or you can bring the dark. Okay, so that's also another way to deal with the problem. There are many other ways. Motivate yourself, or motivate others, or get motivated from others. For example, when you look at the story of Malala Yousafzai, who was shot in the head, and today she's doing amazingly well, and she's
a celebrity in her own right,
and she's a beacon of hope for so many people. And do you understand the meaning of word bait? Sometimes you have a problem, so you want to resolve it. So that means you have to bait to someone that those come and work with you and get things resolved. So that's also part of. Sometimes you have to sublimate. Sometimes you have to dedicate yourself. There's so many things you can do to make your problems different for you.
I'll say, just as in the opening remarks when we were talking about it, that once we are not blindfolded with the situation, and when we give ourselves a bit time, the problem will be able to find the solution. And when you are facing the wall, supposedly, so you wait for the time and consoling yourself. With the personal experience where everybody told me that this is the situation now and what can be done, and I'm looking at here that maybe I'll be getting help, and and there I have believed in myself, and the idea or the thought came to my mind. I thought, wow, wonderful. You know what? We never thought about it. So there is always a chance, as I mentioned, that's where, you know, believing in that power, which is governing this whole universe, that positivity, you may find it. See, when, you know, in the morning when I wake up, I do not know, maybe Google is doing or the YouTube is doing with the algorithm, but I look at it a totally another way. A lot of positive YouTube videos and whatnot, it comes, okay, I look at the home button, whatever comes, I'll listen and I take something positive out of it.
That's your
I was watching
perspective,
TV and I said, you know what, Guru Bani has so much to offer. All
If
those
only
things,
people listen.
And I was just thinking at the same time, I said, you know, how people are stupid when they are mentioning about you know, Sikhism and Hinduism and this and that and whatnot. I said, if I have a power today, okay, I'll put in every temple that Guru Granth Sahib, everywhere. I said, must read. See that how much positivity those.
So Mr. Rakesh is talking from a different perspective, and I will talk from totally opposite perspective. And my perspective is that you should take charge and take control of your situations. So you should not surrender your leadership to the outside forces, because today's decisions are tomorrow's reality.
But sometimes,
Go ahead.
But sometimes trying to control a situation can often put you at even more of a toxic stress level.
That's true, for sure.
Remember, I was talking, sir.
That's true, but there are certain things you have to. You can't leave things just as it is, because you should not surrender your leadership to farces, to the fences, to your foes, to your friends. And you should not surrender your leadership to the frustrations.
So I was talking about the idea of perception earlier.
Either frustrations or to the fantasies or to the fears.
She's talking about perception.
Yeah.
When I spoke about perception, I also meant it's a two-pronged approach. Perception of people can also be, I think the word strength and toughness is convoluted. It's really, the idea is convoluted. I think a lot of people resonate, the idea of strength and toughness resonates with victory. And we're taught to be victors. We're trained to be victors. So often a failure isn't a failure, but it's failure in the perceptive eye.
I really
of the
want
audience.
to say something on this, on the failure. And I'll take a little time also. Okay? Failure does not mean you are a failure. It does mean that you have not succeeded yet. Okay?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
I'm going to say a lot more. A failure does not mean that you have accomplished nothing. It does mean you have learned something. Failure does not mean that you have been a fool. It does mean that you had a lot of faith. Failure does not mean that you have been disgraced. It does mean you have willingness to try. Failure does not mean you don't have it. It does mean that you have to do something in a different way. Failure does not mean you are inferior. It does mean you're not perfect. Failure does not mean you have wasted your life. It does mean you have reason to start fresh.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Failure does not mean you should give up. It does mean you must try harder. And failure does not mean you will never make it. It does mean it will take a little longer.
So if you imagine somebody on the stands, somebody who's just ran a race, sir, there was a little image that I saw recently, very inspiring, nothing, no words, just an image of a child standing on the number one step for a race that he'd won, looking grim and dreary, even though he was victorious, and somebody on stand 2 and 3, and the child on stand 2 was rejoicing. So that's what I was trying to say, exactly what you said, that you could be a victor on stand 2, not be on stand 1, and still be victorious. There was a reality show, I don't know if you've been following it, Big Boss. I never followed it, but just this one time, the last 5 or 6 episodes I watched, because I got hooked onto the attitudes of the supposed winning audience winner as per the audiences, and he inevitably won. But the person who was the runner-up, I think, was victorious. To me, he was victorious because his attitude was brilliant.
Yes.
And I think failure or victory, strength, toughness, these are all attitudes.
And I
There are
believe that
attitudes that we have.
it's better to do something imperfectly rather than doing nothing. So that's many a times we reject many things. For example, we reject, oh, this thing is illegal, I should not do it. So I'm going to say here, I'm not telling anyone that you should do illegal things. But the thing is that something which is illegal today, but you think strongly. For example, marijuana was illegal sometimes back, and now it's legal. I'm not supporting or opposing marijuana at this point of time. I'm not getting into that debate. But I'm saying that laws can be changed. If you think, for example, there was a time when women didn't have the right to vote in Canada, and then the person's case, some 5 women took charge, and then they got the laws changed, and the women got the right to vote. So it is not that you have so something is illegal, so you don't have to. There are so many things we reject. We should not reject anything because something wrong with it. You know, when faced with the mountain, I will not quit. I will keep on striving until climb over, find path through, tunnel underneath. You know, when the things go wrong, as the sometime will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low, the debts are high, you want to smile, you have to sigh when care is pressing down a bit. Rest if you burst, but don't quit. And there's a very beautiful quote which says, no defeat is final until you stop trying. So that's basically what it is, that you have to tell yourself, I am not rejecting things, because
okay, it's not about rejection. Sometimes it's just like the fear and the self-doubt is like the biggest barrier. So what is your response to that? So before we can get anywhere, before we can get to the stage of
Haru, I will simply end that with one line only. Do what you fear and the fear disappear.
Not always.
No,
not always. I think recognition and reward has a lot to do with it.
I have a different take on it. See, I agree with this part that you have to face your fear, no matter what. There is only one way. You know, it takes time definitely to face it, okay, but you have to face it, and slowly, once for first time, it is going to be hard, and it does happen. Let's take an example. When you are first time you're driving, okay,
it's a big fear.
You have a big fear over there. But once you face it, then you get repetitive, and then you get the confidence.
Even you come to a TV program. Who your is. You come to a TV program and you want to be a host, and the first time when you are doing things differently, and as you do, so you become different.
Let me say, I was doing my radio programs, and you are sometimes situations are there you're not even trained of it, and I'm doing the radio program. We have a songs lined up, we have other things lined up. All of a sudden,
the technical.
Not technical means the whole thing is collapsed.
Oh dear.
You are only over there with your mic, and you have to keep continuing speaking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have no break, no commercial break. You cannot take it. Okay. You have nothing over there, and that's when you're tested. And I was tested so many times, like cannot even glance it. You have to speak to your mind and gaining that confidence, having that confidence in yourself.
I'll give you an example in that also. That sometimes back I had a program like we organized a function at Soccer Center in Brampton, and what happens? Their mic, their audio, their sound system fails. Right? I have 300, 400 people sitting there. I have 200 students sitting there. And all the speakers who are going to speak, none of them can speak there without the microphone because their voice will not go anywhere. Now, I talked to those people, the Soccer Center, they couldn't do anything. At that point of time, they said, we can't do anything. Now, I was all alone with 400 people in front of me, and this is a function of 2 to 3 hours. So I spoke without mic, and I was the MC, I was the speaker, I did all the jobs of all the guests.
Situations like that.
And you resurrected the moment.
At that point of time, if I was just scared of what I'm going to do, the program would have collapsed. And
you
3
have
hours.
Your confidence and your real nature, your true nature comes out at that.
And I think your circle must be positive as well, because if you're against people who don't support you and you have it in you to make it work, but people around you are pulling you down, that can have a detrimental effect.
And there are many factors, so many things that we could discuss about tough people, tough situations. it all really depends on the circumstances and things that happen. But thank you to y'all for coming, and to the audience, thank you for watching, and good night.